I'm John Chen. I'm the author of Engaging Virtual Meetings, and this is a special message on a Saturday. And the theme here, hashtag Stop Asian Hate. What a week of events where we knew a lot of stuff was happening. Of course, I've been tracking that a lot. If you see me on Facebook, you know I'm constantly posting around this, especially as a committee member of the API Heritage Month Committee coming up in May. But these recent events have really activated me and my very good friend here. So let's welcome to the stage Jolene Jang. Hey, Jolene, how are you on this Saturday?
This is so funny. So, for those who are watching, I just texted John Chen, like, hey, let's talk tomorrow. And I didn't even say what about. He just, yeah, of course, let's talk. And then, and this morning, you're like, oh, do you want to do this live? I'm like, yeah, I want to do this live. And I think that and John, what I want to talk to you about is if we can brainstorm about how can we activate our Asian American friends and people. I think I'm going to reach out to all the non-Asian people and everything, but how can we activate these Asian American voices to speak up? Because it is such a struggle. It is such a freaking struggle. And it's kind of up to you and me because we have voices that are loud. And so I want to talk about that. What kind of ideas do you have? Do you have any?
Well, actually, I got recently asked from my very good friend and mentor, Dr. Simon Priest, who's writing an article, a very big dissertation on oppression. And it just said that there's a common experience where, oppression is about people being judged for who they, what they look like as opposed to who they are. And a lot of themes that I'm reading in his paper are you have to have the courage to stand up against it. That's what it, because in the initial stages, when you're not expecting it, you take it and you're like, oh, I'll just back off because I think I'm different or something. And I'm going to give a shout out to Petrania. Petrania is one of our used to be a local newspaper reporter here, or I'm sorry, a TV reporter, and she came on to she now went to Vegas, and she said this amazing story where she said a television station asked her to change her last name because it was hard to pronounce.
Nice.
Swan, I think, is kind of what it is. And she said in her instance, she was like, hard no. Right?
Yeah.
She didn't have to think about it. And I got to tell you, that type of courage took me years to develop. I don't know where she got it, but she was ready. And so when I see instances like this, one of the things you got to do is one is be ready. I had an incident in Bellevue, Washington, where two teenage kids said Chinese slurs to me and then threw a rock at me. And I came back with them with the one thing I always recommend people, which is get your camera out. You saw what a camera can do last year. It changed the world. And that's how I fight, right? Which is like, I may not be able to beat that person up, but I can certainly put the camera on them. And even if they do beat me up and I get the footage, they will most likely go down. And so I think those are all the things that go along with it. But for those out here who are listening, Jolene's piece here is for those who either may have backed down or may have not said anything with the world's events. I think one of the things we're saying is stand up. In this last program that I was just in, Jolene, there was 400 or 500 people, and they did a section on Stop Asian Hate, and the chat just blew up. And it was so nice to have people, I think, around the world who were supporting that, just even to say the words, Stop Asian Hate. And that's what I'm looking for. But again, even President Biden said, I think silence means you're kind of being complicit, or silent means that you're not doing something about it. All right. So I don't know. Does that make sense for you, Jolene? And also, what are you doing?
Yes, but what I want to figure out is, for example, um, on my Facebook feed, I do have some Asians. I used to be very connected in the Asian community a while back,
Yes.
and so some of them are there and starting to say something. And then there was the tiny little baby rally with the few hundred, a couple hundred people in Chinatown. And I saw like 5 people post about it. Rod Marr, the photographer, his were public, but the rest were not public. And I'm like, make it public so people know. Like, why be secretive? And then there's a few people who are sharing, which I'm so pleased that they're sharing how they are feeling. My Asian American people are sharing how they're feeling, and they haven't shared before. It's really vulnerable, and that is a step to share with their little circle, and I so appreciate that. I want to encourage people to do that, but also share in public, and to make it a safe place to share in public. And with 5.9%, that's from the census 2019, as Asian Americans, a number of those don't speak English. The rest are afraid to say anything. And then it's like you and me, John. Like, we need help. And so I'm going to do a number of things for the non-white, for the non-Asians, but like for the Asians, I want to figure out how can we encourage them at least to speak in their at least maybe privately in their group. I mean, I would love that to be more, but so can we brainstorm on that?
Well, and one of the reasons why I'm not looking here and not looking at you is because this is one of the techniques that I've used in multiple locations, which is share the stream. If you can hear my voice now, share the stream. If you can see me now, share the stream. You know, it's a simple technique, but it really works. Last year, I helped Urban Impact, a local place. We did a program that celebrated 10 Black-owned entrepreneurs, and 150 people shared the stream, and 15,000 people saw that stream and that post with no ads or advertising. And I think it also went to the community that matters, which is the connection, people connected to that network. And that's something as simple as that. So that's one thing that you can do, is just even come out here and speak out. I mean, one idea that I really have, Jolene, is I would love for any of the, especially APIs, Asian Americans that are here, to start posting their story, even of small things that happened in their childhood, right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
You know what happened and what's happening today and what's happening tomorrow. I think if people did that, I think one of the other things that's really important for getting over this is to talk about it. Because a lot of times, you know, in Asian culture, it's very easy to let's just squash it down, right? and I think that it causes damage if you squash it down, because it's still inside you and then it eats up at you, as opposed to if you let it out and then like, okay, I can be done with that, right? And Jolene, you've had things like this, not just being Asian, right? For some of them for being women, and I hope that did you get the feeling of at least control or power back from fighting against it and being able to actually do something tangible?
Oh, I've got so much fight in me. You don't. It's not even funny. The thing is, it's like, so some of my concern is like, you know what? I'm not representing how many countries are there? And I'm Japanese, Chinese, and Swedish. I'm way different than the stereotype. And so I can't claim to represent all of these countries and the different generations, but I know that I represent a lot of it. And so that's where I want other people. So I'm listening on the Asians Now with those 12,500 people. I'm listening. I'm monitoring. One of the questions is, do you want people to reach out to you? Yes and no, and why? And the answer is yes. If you truly care, if you are a white friend and you just, I feel a little bit guilty, and so I'll just reach out because of that. They don't want that, but they do want to be reached out to. And Asian Americans are really sad that their friends aren't reaching out to them. I had two friends Facebook friends who I kind of barely know, reach out to me, and then one friend reach out to me. And I just have a lot before this. I mean, I've had like ridiculous amounts of heaviness. This is just one of them. But one of the things, John, that I am doing is sharing my Asian American experience, because I think you and I are anomalies, and people probably don't even think of us as Asian. And I want to say, yeah, I am Asian. I identify as Asian, and share what that means. And I'm hoping that other Asian Americans can like go with this. I was thinking about having 3 questions, what is your Asian American experience, and what's something you wish people knew, or something like that. I was thinking to prompt with 3 questions.
Yeah.
And, I can start with mine, but I also don't want people to think that they need to be, they can just share. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to, just share your story. And, but I don't know other ideas. I am, regarding other groups, I have a YouTubers meeting today. There are a few Asians there. But again, like one of them, I don't think she identifies as Asian because she's quarter Filipino. And then there's another gal who I don't know if that's her fight. But I'm going to ask them, and then I'm going to reach out to Asian American podcasters. It hasn't been active there, but I'm going to then I'm gonna also reach out to the other podcasters and say, hey, in your field, can you reach out to the Asian American people, whatever in your field, and ask them about their, how this impacts them and what we can do, and other creators. But with the Asian Americans, I don't know how to activate them.
Well, I know the one is, I think it's stopaapihate.org is like one of the most active websites and getting national attention right now about just one is documenting hate crimes against
Yeah.
Asian Americans. Again, another person contacted me and said there was a 80-year-old Asian woman that was full on attacked inside of San Francisco. And so the number of things that are happening, whether you're getting them on your media or not, is growing. It's something like 300, 400, 500 with, no, I'm sorry, it's 30 times. It's like 30 times the rate of previous years. And that's what's happened in the last 4 years. And so it's really become a big deal. And of course, this week was, I mean, people are trying to decode what happened because nobody knows, but all we know is 8 people are dead. And 8 people who were specifically targeted, right? For again, they don't know if it was a hate crime, but we do know that many of them, or almost all of them, were of Asian descent. And yeah, I don't know. There's just so much inside of there that of all the things I had to experience. I mean, I love your idea about the Asian American experience. I love your idea about, so one of the very, I'm a team builder by trade, and one of the very easy exercises to create, bonds with each other and some vulnerability is just telling a challenging childhood story. And I think, again, just finding a way to talk about it is one thing. I think the other thing too, actually, I took a training this week, Jolene, which is how to fight against it. So there are multiple classes online from multiple organizations to say, even if you are not Asian, right? If you saw something happening, what are the right things to do? And I went so far, I don't remember. Hey, do you remember that the CEO in California who went off on the Asian family in the very nice restaurant at a resort? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I called that restaurant. And I made sure to let the restaurant department know that the waitress who, if you listen to her, and by the way, I believe she was Caucasian. I don't know her nationality, but that's what I visually saw. I let her know. She stood up. She goes, hey, no, not in my restaurant. These people are my guests, and now you need to get out of here. And I just let them know that is the strongest thing that I saw. Again, if you are an ally, if you are not Asian, but you believe in what Jolene and I are talking about here in terms of Stop Asian Hate, that's the next thing you can do, which is take action and help defend your people, like you would your friends or your guests. And that's exactly what she did. And I took the extra effort, though, to call her and call the department and let them know.
Yeah, recognize the people who are doing good and sharing their stories too.
Yeah, because sometimes that's really what you want to see. That's how we've made a lot of difference, is not only just the stories about that, but it's the stories of people who helped make that difference. And I think that's also, those are people I feel like that are important in helping to battle this. And the sad part is, like, look, we've been working at this for hundreds and thousands of years, and this is as far as we got. I mean, what has to happen for us to get to the next stage where I feel like I can walk down the street or to go about my business and not have those moments where I worry about, am I going to be judged just strictly because my last name is Chen and I'm Asian?
Yeah.
Will that world ever exist in my lifetime? I don't know, but it's up to each of you. If you're listening to this, it's up to each of you to do one part and try and help create that world around you. Oh, Charles Liu. I've been to empty restaurants and still got seated in the back next to the bathroom. Charles, thank you so much for sharing that.
And in Seattle?
I don't know. That's a good question, Charles.
Oh, interesting. I know you have to leave in 2 minutes here. What I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to start with 7 or 8 exercises or quick little things for Asian Americans, because I think that's where we need to hear our voices. And I think other people will go along, but I don't know. Like, I don't want to offend anybody by asking them and whatever. So I think I'm going to make simple exercises and ask out loud, but then I might individually message my Asian American friends, and then I'll ask some other Asian American friends if they can ask their friends to private message them and say, hey, can you do this? You know, each day, can you share something that you wish people knew about you or something like that? Yeah.
Awesome. I'd love to give a shout out. My neighbor, Joanne Chin, is watching. Dave Domhold and Charles or Susie Bradley is also hanging out watching. I appreciate you. And Charles Liu said that happened in Vegas.
Okay.
Are you kidding me too? Like, do you know how big deal the Asian clientele is in Vegas? Like, that's why
They got all the money, like all the
oh,
Chinese tourists. Are you
that
kidding
is
me?
just dumb. That's
Stupid.
just, yeah, that's dumb. And again,
Yeah.
I'd rather go somewhere else. If I actually experienced that, I would never visit that place again. This is the last thing I think I can also say before we end this cast. You want to do something, vote with your dollars. This is America, right? And if you get to a place that would like that, like Charles, I would never sit in that restaurant again. And if you tell me the name of that restaurant, I will never visit that restaurant until somebody makes it right.
Yeah. I guess so. Last thing is those of you who are watching, you can change your profile, Stop Asian Hate. You can put a cover photo. I have lots of things that I'll be sharing. Share the people's stories. Daniel Day Kim, who testified, share that. Share. There's a number of famous people that you know that are sharing, and just share their stories. Listen, reach out to your Asian American friends. Don't be afraid to do it. Just do it. They're hurting and they feel invisible. So make a scene. Thank you, John Chen, for this impromptu, like, we should do this every day. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jolene, too, for suggesting it. I'm here because of you. Again, those who are listening to this, either do us the favor, share the stream or make up your own video for anything else you have. Hashtag Stop Asian Hate. And if you can, please do something around for the friends or reach out to your Asian friends. Just say hello. And I think that would be enough. So till next time we're online, Jolene, we'll see you next time.
all right.
Hashtag Stop
Thanks, John.
Asian
All right.
Hate.